Every great NBA rivalry has a villain. For the New York Knicks, it was Reggie Miller. For the Sacramento Kings, it was Shaquille O'Neal. And for the Toronto Raptors, it was LeBron James. No player in NBA history has tormented a single franchise quite like LeBron did to Toronto. So much so, the basketball world gave it a name, LeBronto. But the story doesn't begin in 2018, it started way back in 2005. That year, a 20-year-old LeBron James walked into Toronto's Air Canada Centre and dropped 56 points, the most he'd ever scored in a game at the time. It was a career high, a franchise record for a visiting player, and the highest total ever scored on Canadian soil, until Kobe dropped 81 a year later. LeBron wasn't done. In 2008, he returned to Toronto for another statement game. This time, it wasn't just about basketball, it was personal. Raptors star Chris Bosh's girlfriend kept heckling LeBron from the sidelines while Toronto built a 20-point lead. After LeBron missed a dunk, she got extra loud. That was a mistake. A pissed-off LeBron is a dangerous LeBron. He responded by scoring 24 points in the fourth quarter alone, leading the Cavs to the biggest comeback in Raptors history. After the game, he pointed at her and said, "That's your fault. They lost because of you." Cold-blooded. During his first stint in Cleveland, LeBron compiled a 19-6 record against the Raptors. But when he took his talents to South Beach, things got even worse for Toronto. From 2010 to 2014, the Raptors were helpless against the Miami Heat. LeBron and the Heat won 14 straight regular season games against Toronto. From 2006 to 2015, LeBron only lost to the Raptors twice in 9 years. This was a level of dominance rarely seen in professional sports. But all of this? It was just the regular season. The real nightmare, the one that would give Raptors fans trauma for years, was still to come. By 2016, the Toronto Raptors weren't just a feel-good team anymore. They were contenders. For the first time in franchise history, they finished second in the Eastern Conference, winning a franchise-best 56 games. Their all-star backcourt of Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan had finally matured. Toronto had climbed out of NBA irrelevance and was ready to compete with the league's elite. They had never won more than one playoff series in a single season until now. In the first round, the Raptors battled through a gritty 7-game war with the Indiana Pacers. DeRozan stepped up in Game 7, pushing Toronto into the second round. Then came another slugfest, a 7-game thriller against the Miami Heat. This time, it was Lowry who carried the load in Game 7, leading the Raptors to their first-ever Eastern Conference Finals appearance. Toronto was buzzing. The fans believed. The team believed. Canada believed. But waiting on the other side was the king himself, LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers, the reigning Eastern Conference champs and the NBA's most feared playoff team. The first 2 games of the series, played in Cleveland, were a massacre. The Cavs dominated both nights, turning games into highlight reels. Toronto didn't just lose, they got embarrassed. In Game 1 and Game 2, they never came close. But back in Canada, the Raptors fought back. In Game 3, Lowry and DeRozan combined for 52 points, leading Toronto to a 15-point win. In Game 4, they were even better, 67 points between them. The series was tied 2-2. And just like that, Raptors fans were dreaming big. Was this finally their moment? Had they cracked the LeBron code? Not quite. Game 5 in Cleveland was a rude awakening. The Cavaliers exploded out of the gate, taking a 31-point lead by halftime. Toronto was steamrolled and lost by 38 points, still the worst playoff loss in franchise history. Game 6 back in Toronto was their last chance. They hoped to force a Game 7. Instead, they got more LeBron. James and Kyrie Irving dismantled the Raptors' defense. LeBron looked unstoppable, a freight train gliding to the rim. He shot 82% at the basket, ridiculous stat for a perimeter player. His overall numbers were video game level: 26 points per game, 62% shooting, 8.5 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals, 1 block. DeRozan and Lowry each averaged 20-plus points, but the Cavs made it look effortless. Toronto's defense, rotation, and confidence, all broken. By the end of Game 6, one thing was clear: the Raptors weren't ready. LeBron had slammed the door shut, once again, on a hopeful Toronto season. And so, the Raptors went into the offseason with one goal in mind: stop LeBron James, whatever it takes. After getting outclassed by LeBron in the 2016 Eastern Conference Finals, the Toronto Raptors entered the offseason with one mission: don't get bullied again. They rebuilt their roster with that exact goal in mind. Toronto added PJ Tucker, a physical, hard-nosed defender built to slow down elite wings. They traded for Serge Ibaka, one of the NBA's premier shot blockers, a guy who could protect the rim when LeBron attacked. Meanwhile, DeMar DeRozan and Kyle Lowry had their best seasons yet. Both made the All-Star team again, and the Raptors finished the regular season with 51 wins, tied with the Cavaliers. Everything seemed to be aligning. Toronto was no longer just a scrappy team trying to prove they belonged. They were loaded, experienced, hungry, and ready to go through LeBron, not just around him. Then the playoffs started. Cleveland breezed past the Pacers in 4 games. Toronto beat the Bucks in 6. And so, once again, the second round brought the familiar clash. Raptors versus LeBron James. But this time, Toronto believed things would be different. They had the bodies. They had the plan. They had the film from last year. None of it mattered. In Game 1, LeBron dropped 35 points like it was nothing. He scored from everywhere, inside, outside, mid-range, post-ups. It wasn't just dominance, it was artistry. The Cavaliers took Game 1. In Game 2, he was even more ruthless. LeBron erupted for 39 points, and the Cavs blew out the Raptors by 20. LeBron wasn't just scoring, he was styling on them. He spun the ball in his hands mid-play, like he was taunting a child, then casually splashed a 3 right in Serge Ibaka's face. At one point, he even pretended to sip a beer from a courtside fan during a stoppage. He wasn't worried. He was having fun. Toronto fans held on to hope for Game 3 at home. After all, that's where they turned things around in 2016. But not this time. LeBron was surgical, slicing through the Raptors' defense like a hot knife through maple syrup. He scored 35-plus points again, and Cleveland won by 19. The Raptors were reeling. All the moves, all the preparation, and they were staring down the barrel of a sweep. Game 4 was Toronto's last stand. But even with their season on the line, even with the home crowd behind them, the Raptors had no answer. LeBron closed out the series in style. He averaged 36 points per game, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 57% from the field, 48% from 3, 84% from the line. It was the best shooting series of his playoff career. And just like that, swept. Toronto didn't win a single game. Not one. They built their entire season around beating LeBron, and he made them look even worse than the year before. By the end, it felt like LeBron didn't just defeat Toronto, he owned them. Physically, mentally, emotionally. They threw Tucker at him. They threw Ibaka at him. They tried everything. But LeBron? He just kept spinning the ball, sipping imaginary beers, and burying their hopes one jumper at a time. This wasn't just defeat. This was a public execution. And LeBron was smiling the whole way through. By 2018, the Toronto Raptors had reached their peak. They had the deepest team in franchise history. Veterans like DeRozan and Lowry were still leading the charge. But now they were supported by rising stars like Fred VanVleet, Pascal Siakam, and OG Anunoby. The Raptors finished with 59 wins, the best record in the Eastern Conference, and clinched the #1 seed. On paper, this was it. This was their year. They had experience, talent, depth, and most importantly, home court advantage. Meanwhile, the Cavaliers? They were falling apart. Kyrie Irving was gone, traded to Boston. The Cavs had cycled through almost half their roster by the trade deadline. Their defense ranked near the bottom of the league, and LeBron was carrying the entire team on his back. The Raptors were rested. The Cavs were tired, unstable, and vulnerable. The basketball world believed. This is the moment. Toronto is finally going to beat LeBron James. It started with Game 1 in Toronto. For the first time in years, the Raptors were the favorites. They played well, led most of the game, and looked in control for 47 minutes. But then, Toronto Raptors happened. They missed 11 straight shots down the stretch. Wide, open layups. Point-blank tip-ins. Everything rimmed out. LeBron tied the game with a clutch jumper. In overtime, the Raptors completely collapsed. Cleveland stole Game 1, without ever leading in regulation. A heartbreaker. That loss? It broke something inside them. Game 2 started close but ended in disaster. LeBron unleashed one of the most devastating performances of his career. 43 points, 14 assists, hitting fadeaways, floaters, post turnarounds, with either hand. He was laughing mid-game. One Raptors broadcaster joked, "We'll be back to LeBronto for the 4th quarter." And he was right. Toronto now trailed 0-2, with the series heading back to Cleveland. But Game 3, that was the moment everything collapsed. With the game tied and just 8 seconds left, LeBron took the inbound pass and sprinted the full length of the court. With 1 second left, he tossed up a one-legged runner off the glass. Bang! Game winner. Series 3-0. He didn't just beat them. He ripped their soul out and held it up like a trophy. The Raptors were so shaken, they canceled film sessions the next day. No replays. No breakdowns. Just silence. By Game 4, they weren't even pretending anymore. Toronto came out flat, defeated before the ball was even tipped. LeBron and the Cavs ran them out of the gym. Another sweep. LeBron averaged 34 points, 8.3 rebounds, 11.3 assists, 55% shooting. Toronto, the number 1 seed, didn't win a single game. Again. And for the Raptors, this was the breaking point. DeMar DeRozan, the face of the franchise, was benched during Game 3 and ejected in Game 4. He finished the series having made 0 three-pointers. In 14 playoff games versus LeBron, he made a grand total of 0 threes. Days later, head coach Dwayne Casey, who had just won NBA Coach of the Year, was fired. 1 week later, DeRozan was traded to San Antonio for Kawhi Leonard. That was the end of the We the North Raptors as we knew them. LeBron James didn't just beat Toronto. He shattered them. He rewrote their identity, exposed their limitations, and forced them to blow it all up. Fans didn't even call it Toronto anymore. They called it LeBronto. And whether it was fair or not, it stuck. Because for 3 straight years, no matter what Toronto tried, LeBron owned them.